Probably does, because it's a kind of a resurrection of the club again. As Greg says, the club went through I came to the club then, and the club was only starting to evolve. We saw many changes in the first few years, and then to go and win the league was absolutely brilliant. And obviously to win the cup then the following year, 30-year gap is some gap. It's a lifetime, So I think the specialty of that was for the older Shels supporters then, even Ollie himself. But for the older fellas that were around, Fran Rennick, Eamon White, people like that, Shay Weaver, they were fellas that had been through the club thick and thin. And to win it then, and then to win the cup the following year was just brilliant for them, I suppose, as well as us, obviously.
The cup itself, obviously you've won leagues, but there's a certain romance to it, isn't there?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, it's a great day, first of all. Semi-finals are always the pressure ones. The cup finals look after themselves. You get through the semi-final, that's the main thing. Obviously you're not in the cup final if you don't. But semi-finals, you can kind of relax in a final, believe it or not, because the build-up is really the semi-final to get to the final. And when you get there, it's just a matter of playing the day. Don't let the actual event beat you, because it can pass you by very quick as well. You've got to play the final, you've got to remember that, and you've got to turn up on the day. That's the important thing.
Greg, you turned up on 3 days in particular, 93, 96 and 97. It was a really special group that you had back then. Obviously Mick, the Gagan brothers, Tony Sheridan. Is that something that stayed with you, throughout these years?
Yeah, without doubt. To have played in such good teams with such good players, to end up getting our hands on the cup 3 times in the period that I was there was fantastic. Going back to 93, you're never sure if you're going to get to play in another final, and lucky enough we did. And like Mick is saying, for the fans, that had probably been at the club, supporting the club for such a long period of time without ever getting their hands on any silverware, to, I suppose, in the 90s, in that stretch of time, to win a few cups, to go as far as 2000 when the club did a double that time. It was a bit of a purple patch for the club, so to be part of that was really something special.
96, Mick, it was two finals really, with the replay included, that was filled with drama, sending offs, midfielders in goal, one of the best goals of all time in the cup final. That final in particular, what's the first thing that comes to mind, and what are the memories that you have?
It had people said it was a poor final. Yeah, it was probably a poor final in the regard of spectacle, but everything happened in it, particularly in the second half. And the memories I would have of it was getting through it, because I was only after coming back from injury, and to playing the final itself, I was delighted. Goffey then obviously getting sent off, and then conceding the goal late on. I thought we were gone, and then Tony produced a bit of magic, as he often did, to get us out of a hole. I honestly believe, and I said it after that game, that we had Pats then, because I think that was our chance. And I don't know what it was. I knew we were going to win in Dalymount. Just had that feeling. Our name was on it. And then Goffey to go and save the penalty, and Gago scoring an unbelievable goal then to win it. I mean, my memory of that was Ollie being on the pitch, running down the pitch. We were all celebrating the goal, and Ollie standing beside us on the pitch. That was just pure gold, wasn't it?
Yeah.
We couldn't believe it.
Yeah.
We're all diving on Gago, and Ollie standing right beside us. Unbelievable.
Yeah, and I suppose that's what a club is. It's these people like Ollie. He's obviously a big figure in history, but you're all the more members like Shay Weaver and Eamon White who are still there. I mean, when you see the faces on these people's eyes and ears, that's really what it means.
Yeah, without doubt. And the fact that since then, those people are still at the club. I was over there a few weeks ago for the Pats game, the 4-all game, and to see the same faces still there supporting the club through, over the last maybe 15 or so years. It's been a difficult period again for the club. Been in Division 1 and a bit of yo-yo between the Premier and First Division. So to see those fellas and those people still there, the same fans that were there back in the day when we were playing, it's those sort of people that make the club, and they're the heart and soul of the club. And as I said, to turn up and talk a few weeks ago and see those same faces, it's incredible to think that they've stayed on that journey.
Yeah, there was the death before the game was obviously a disaster for their family as well, and then the Derry as a club. We didn't know how it was going to affect them. They obviously had to play a final, and we had to play it in it as well. So there's a kind of a strange atmosphere before it. The final itself, I ended up playing right back. Took his place.
Sure about that.
But James Keddy was left wing for Derry. I think he got Player of the Year that year. So I said to myself during the week that the first chance I got, I was going to try and nail him. James came to the club the following year then and said it was an assassination attempt. You'll see the tackle in the bar in Tolka, if you see it. Welcome to Tolka is on it. But yeah, James thought it was an assassination attempt, but I told him he was getting that tackle on Thursday. The final was on Sunday, because he was such a good player that I knew I'd have to, if I could keep him quiet, we'd have a chance. But as it turned out then, Dave Campbell got a goal from the corner, and then we scored on a break, didn't we?
Yeah.
Put out Dykesy.
Yeah.
I can mention Dykesy. Got caught by Gago, and yeah, Gago, brilliant finish. He was an unbelievable striker. He was unbelievable.
It was Mark Rutherford's breakaway as well down the left wing.
Mark was that was the Pats game. Yeah, that was the Pats game for Gago's lob over the goalkeeper.
Yeah, another great finish.
And Cheryl with his right foot.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Dribbled into the corner.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's interesting you talk about the semi-final being the difficult bit. So obviously Shels, they've beaten Waterford to get to the final. There's a lot of pressure on that game. I think that because they went into the game as favourites, obviously as the Premier Division team. What would your advice now be, Greg? To it's obviously a lot of young players into the same team, same way you would have been maybe gone into 1993.
I think Mick probably summed it up. I think the semi-final in some ways nearly a bigger game. Like the pressure of getting to the final, you want to make it to the kind of occasion to get there on the day. So arguably the semi-final might be even like a bigger sort of game, and then you've kind of done that, you're in the final, it's the pressure is off a little bit, like Mick was saying, and you can maybe go and enjoy it on the day. Of course you want to win, no one wants to turn up and be the loser on the day, but yeah, it's just to be there and to make it and to share that occasion with the fans, with your teammates, with your family, it's a great day, and to go and win it then would be special, obviously for the club in a couple of weeks time. And but yeah, the semi-final is the game. And just going back just for 1 second, Mick mentioned Cheryl's goal in the final to get us to the replay against Pats in '96. His goal down in the semi-final when he beat Sligo down there 1-0 was an even better goal. He was flat out on the run, a couple of defenders converging on him. He just lifted it over the keeper without breaking stride. It was an unbelievable finish.
I was actually injured, and I was in the Shels crowd behind the goal. I just couldn't believe it.
Incredible.
How he could get it up and down from where he was just amazing.
That was fantastic.
I was standing in the Shels crowd.
Yeah.
I think Johnny Watson also got injured during the celebrations of that goal. Johnny Watson, obviously the kit man for Shels, still there.
He probably fell over me.
He probably fell over you. Obviously so much came after those 2 years for Shels in '96, '97. What could this final be? What could the impact be for Shelbourne Football Club, so storied in history, if they were to win on Sunday week?
We'd be hoping to be the start of something big for them. Like with Damien obviously coming to the club, there's been a lot of publicity around it, but he's backed it up. He's kept them up. They've been safe. They got to an FAI Cup final. They've had an absolutely unbelievable season, and hopefully it's the start of something bigger for the club. I have to also go back on it as well. With Craig was saying, they have to mention Joe Casey as well. Joe Casey, Brian Nathan, those people have done an unbelievable job to keep the club going when everyone thought they were going to go under. They kept it going, they turned it around, and I'd love them to win the cup for that reason alone, because it'd be what they deserve. They get the recognition that they deserve. They kept that club going, when everyone thought it was going to go under, and now look at it, it's thriving. On the women's side as well, it's fantastic, absolutely fantastic.